Commerce Alive Today presents
Fingerhut. Fingerhut originated in 1948 as a small concern far removed from the world of sophisticated multimedia marketing and high finance. At that time, William Fingerhut, the son of Jewish immigrants, was producing and selling automobile seat covers out of his Minneapolis garage to augment the family-run sewing business. William's new enterprise held enough promise. Much factory upholstery was then notoriously susceptible to tears and stains. Accommodate his brother, Manny, an exasperated manager of a used car lot. Aided by 4 other employees, the Fingerhut brothers saw gross sales during their initial years together that approached $100,000 annually. The brainstorm that ultimately transformed the company into a big-time operation. Wrote Arthur M. Lewis, belonged to Manny, who handled sales and bookkeeping. In 1949, after receiving a mail-order solicitation to purchase neckties, Manny envisioned expanding the seat business far beyond the local car dealer and car buyer market. Fingerhut's new market would be car owners across the United States, all of whom could be reached by mail. Before fully implementing his plan, the younger Fingerhut hired an advertiser to produce an eye-catching circular, which the entrepreneur then mailed to 100 new car owners spread throughout Minnesota. From this first test market, Fingerhut received 8 orders, many times more than the necessary response for a successful mailing. Within 3 years, Manny had reoriented the entire business to mail-order marketing, acquiring lists of new car buyers, state by state, as he went. Unfortunately, Lewis noted, William Fingerhut had been wary of Manny's bold experiment from the start, and when it worked so well he became resentful. The relationship between the brothers became tense, and in 1954 William angrily withdrew from active participation in the business. The elder Fingerhut eventually sold his share of the company in 1969 for $12.5 million. During the mid-1950s the company faced its first crisis when Detroit automakers introduced vinyl and nylon, fabrics far more durable than previous ones, in their new car models. Fingerhut responded by switching entirely to the production of transparent plastic seat covers, which allowed the car owner both to preserve and display the modern upholstery beneath. The 1950s also saw the company expand its offerings to include towels, dishes, electric drills, and car coats. This last item was so successful that it launched the company firmly into manufacturing as well as merchandising. By the mid-1970s Fingerhut Corporation's product list encompassed some 40 items, a select dozen of which were manufactured internally and responsible for nearly 50% of overall sales. Although a good product mix was certainly crucial to the company's years of continuing growth, even more so was Fingerhut's modus operandi of targeting and maintaining its core market of lower middle-income consumers. Market research showed that this buying group was most likely to shop by mail and, by logical extension, most likely to buy the many low-cost goods offered by Fingerhut. Coupled with Fingerhut's enticement of free gifts with every purchase and installment credit at department store rates, this made for a powerful sales and marketing formula. Crowning everything was Fingerhut's development and maintenance of a large and dependable customer list. A strategy that would ensure long-term corporate health. Following the watershed year of 1969, when the company went public in an immensely successful initial offering, Fingerhut was at the top of its game, the biggest complete mail-order marketer in the country. Then came fiscal 1974, when rising mailing, manufacturing, and interest costs, declining real incomes, mounting inventories, and price controls seriously threatened the company's future. In a management shakeup, newly installed President Ted Deichel, son-in-law of Manny Fingerhut, took charge of domestic operations and focused on a number of key areas, including cost-cutting, boosting morale, and rethinking product mailings. 2 of the most important steps Deichel took were phasing the company out of manufacturing and calling for pinpoint marketing, in which customers would be segmented by their buying preferences. Another positive outcome of the 1974 recession was Fingerhut's development of a multi-step contingency plan to deal with future recessions. The plan involved tracking declines in orders from solo product mailings and rises in pre-shipment cancellations, responding to such key declines and rises by raising credit standards, reducing sales to marginal customers, and increasing sales to customers, and changing its product mix. By the last months of 1979, a new recession was in sight and Fingerhut was able to implement its plan. The company's ability to reap a profit increase of 10% in the second quarter of 1980. While other retailers and mail-order houses suffered profit declines from 18% to 43% during the same period, immediately placed Fingerhut in the limelight. In a November 1980 article for Fortune, Herbert Meyer reported, "As word of Fingerhut's triumph has spread, Deichel and his colleagues have begun to receive inquiries from executives throughout US and from economists about what Fingerhut's data are saying now." Understandably, the Fingerhut crew is rather enjoying the attention. Ironically, it was Deichel's retailing genius that caused non-retailing conglomerate American Can Company, later renamed Primerica, to acquire Fingerhut in 1979. After the purchase, Deichel assumed the additional responsibility of overseeing other American Can properties, including music merchandiser Pickwick International, then owner of Minnesota retail powerhouse Musicland. By 1983, however, Deichel was ready to build his own marketing organization from scratch and he left Fingerhut and Primerica. Despite difficulties related to Primerica's later plans to divest Fingerhut, the cataloger managed to flourish through much of the 1980s. As of 1986, the company ranked alongside Spiegel, Inc. and behind retailing giant Sears, Roebuck and Company and J.C. Penney Company Incorporated in catalog sales, and was growing at a rate of 20% annually. Meanwhile, Deichel had founded Plymouth, Minnesota-based CVN Companies, an enormously successful pioneer of the cable home shopping industry. From $63.7 million in sales in 1984, CVN expanded to $683 million in sales in 1989. In October of that year, CVN merged with Pennsylvania-based competitor QVC Network. Deichel, $42 million richer from the deal, was searching for a way to continue his partnership with top CVN managers, who together possessed a wealth of experience in merchandising and general operations. A singularly golden opportunity presented itself virtually next door, at Deichel's former employer, Fingerhut. Following Primerica's 1990 offering, part of a full divestiture plan that was completed in January 1993, Sears departed the catalog industry and Fingerhut showed especially strong growth in both sales and net income. Under Deichel, the company also demonstrated that it was a business true to its origins, capable of doing year in and year out what it did best, servicing the customer while remaining open to change as new possibilities and challenges arose. In addition to expanding its product offerings to attract a wealthier customer group both through Fingerhut Corporation and Montgomery Ward Direct LP, a joint venture catalog marketer formed in late 1991 with general merchandise mainstay Montgomery Ward Company, Inc., Fingerhut placed considerable emphasis on growth opportunities within USA Direct Incorporated, an infomercial subsidiary launched in 1991. As the company's 1992 annual report pointed out, the infomercial business was intimately tied to Fingerhut's direct mail marketing. Those products that had the best chance of selling via TV were marketed there first, then through follow-up advertisements in company catalogs and circulars, and finally through retail stores under royalty contract. Two of the most popular of Fingerhut's infomercial to retail market products were the Body by Jake exercise machine and the Bissell Big Green carpet cleaning machine. Telemarketing and television revenues for 1992 accounted for 9% of all corporate sales, double the amount achieved in 1991. Also in 1992, Fingerhut opened a new distribution center in Piney Flats, Tennessee. 2 years later, the company expanded its St. Cloud, Minnesota, distribution facility by 547,000 square feet. Soon thereafter, a new 1 million square foot facility was opened in Spanish Fork, Utah. By the late 1990s, Fingerhut operated 4 distribution centers with a total of more than 4 million square feet of operating space. At the same time, Fingerhut was leveraging its vast proprietary database through an expansion into financial services, including extended product warranties, third-party insurance, and a co-branded Fingerhut/MasterCard credit card. The credit card initiative, launched in 1994, was particularly successful as Fingerhut was able, through its database, to find good credit card prospects who had been largely overlooked by bank and other credit card issuers, most of whom focused on higher-end customers. By 1996, Fingerhut was one of the 25 largest credit card issuers in the United States. In October of that year, Fingerhut took its financial services arm, dubbed Metris Companies, public through an initial offering that raised an estimated $45 million. 2 years later, Fingerhut divested its remaining stake in Metris. Meanwhile, Fingerhut in 1997 began a major credit-related transition when it started converting its customers from close-ended installment plans to open-ended revolving credit. In the late 1990s was also notable for Fingerhut's moves into e-commerce, a key move for a direct marketer. In 1995 the company launched Fingerhut.com and AndysGarage.com. The latter, named after e-commerce president Andy Johnson, was positioned as a huge garage sale for overstock and closeout merchandise, such as electronics and gas grills. The move into cyberspace accelerated following the hiring of Will Lansing as president in May 1998. Daikel remained chairman and CEO. Lansing had previously spent 9 years at consulting firm McKinsey & Company, where he worked on a number of high-tech projects, including an attempted turnaround of Prodigy, as well as 2 years at General Electric Company working directly for legendary CEO Jack Welch. Daikel hired Lansing specifically to bolster Fingerhut's internet presence and to spearhead an acquisitions drive in a rapidly consolidating catalog sector. Lansing moved quickly on both fronts. In his first 10 months as president, Lansing shepherded through 8 acquisitions, 5 e-commerce sites and 3 catalogs. The latter included Arizona Mail Order, a women's apparel catalog purchased for $120 million in September 1998, Popular Club Plan, a membership-based, general merchandise catalog purchased from J. Crew Group Incorporated for $42 million in November 1998, and Bedford Fair, another women's apparel catalog, which was purchased out of Chapter 11 Bankruptcy for $39 million in December 1998. Fingerhut purchased equity stakes in a number of e-commerce sites in 1998, including PCFlowers.com, a leading online florist service, MountainZone.com, which offered climbing and skiing products and information, and FreezeHop.com, which offered free samples and trial offers of merchandise and magazine subscriptions. In early 1999, Fingerhut invested in Roxy.com, a marketer of internet equipment, and Handtech.com, a seller of computers and technology products. By this time, Fingerhut had also launched a number of additional e-commerce sites, including Fijis.com, an offshoot of the Fiji's gourmet food and gift catalog, and TheHut.com, a site offering general merchandise for young adults that was later renamed AtomicLiving.com. In March 1999, Federated Department Stores Incorporated acquired Fingerhut for $1.7 billion. Many analysts considered this an odd pairing of the downscale direct marketing of Fingerhut and the upmarket retailing of Federated, which owned Macy's and Bloomingdale's department stores. However, Federated wished to bolster its fairly small presence in cataloging and e-commerce and could leverage Fingerhut's catalog and internet order fulfillment infrastructure. The Fingerhut brand has undergone several more ownership changes in the 21st century, including a one-time ownership Pedders Group Worldwide 2002, and Bain Capital Ventures 2004. Federated Department Stores Incorporated current Macy's, Inc. acquired Fingerhut for $1.7 billion in 1999. Fingerhut's revenue was $1.7 billion for the fiscal year that ended in January 2001. By 2000, Fingerhut had lost $400 million, and Federated Department Stores sold the company in 2002. The company has received criticism for allegedly engaging in practices such as robocalls. On March 9, 2020, the company's parent, Bluestem Brands Incorporated, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the United States District Court for the District of Delaware. On September 2025, Bluestem, the parent company of one of Minnesota's former retail greats, Fingerhut, is closing its Eden Prairie headquarters and laying off the remaining employees after slashing its workforce in February. The company, known legally as BLST Operating Company, LLC, notified state officials Wednesday that 103 employees across various departments will be laid off in mid-November. A Bluestem representative was unavailable for comment Thursday. CEO Robert Warshauer called the moves a reorganization leading to permanent closure and layoffs in Eden Prairie in a letter to the State Department of Employment and Economic Development. His job is among those listed as being eliminated. In August, Bluestem announced it would close its St. Cloud distribution center, resulting in 118 layoffs before the end of the year. Those layoffs will take place over 2 phases, beginning October 26 and ending November 14, shutting down the company. The company has also shut a distribution center in Georgia, laying off 160. Currently, if you visit the Fingerhut website, there are nothing but a few clearance items left. Fingerhut was once a giant in the mail-order catalog business. When the company started in 1948, it sold automobile seat covers but later evolved into a conglomeration of goods from closet organizers to gadgets. The Minnesota-based retailer differentiated itself from other businesses by implementing a technique known as hire purchase, making monthly payments, similar to today's buy now, pay later model.
At Fingerhut, we don't define you by your credit score. We celebrate you being you. So we offer low monthly payments on the stuff you need, things you love, and brands you trust. As you build your credit history with a Fingerhut credit account. If you're looking for the latest electronics, kitchen essentials, clothes, toys, and more, you'll find it all at Fingerhut. You do you, and we'll help build your credit at fingerhut.com.
Fingerhut credit accounts are issued by WebBank.
If you have any fond memories, please indicate it at the comments below. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and like.